Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, this is Those Guys, having some technical difficulties. Not sure if you can see that on your end, because I'm not sure how the episode works, and it's funny to say that after all these years, because usually I believe if we don't say anything in the first couple seconds, it just cuts straight to when we start talking. So I don't think you guys might see that we're having technical difficulties, but we are. Anyway, so it is Matt Marrero, one of your hosts, along with...
Can I say the thing? Should I roar like Godzilla or should no? It's Tristan. It's Tristan Walter. They all know it's me.
I'm sorry. Is it? Wait. I'm sorry. Who's Godzilla? I thought it was part of the Anguirus. The Anguirus.
Oh God.
Yeah. So okay. So today. Oh, that's the roar. You got the roar down.
Shut the fuck. Fuck. All right.
All right. So for anyone wondering, this is Tristan Walter, and he's frustrated because today we're, for Friday Night Movies, we're not just doing one version of Godzilla Raids again. We're doing both. We're doing both the English and the Japanese. Now, the reason why we decided to do this is because, at least for this movie, and I'll do further research upon future movies, but at least for this movie, it wasn't like the first movie, where there clearly was a difference, a huge difference, in my opinion, between Gojira and Godzilla King of the Monsters. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't a huge difference in this film, right? Because obviously, yes, plot-wise, there is a big difference. No, there is. Because of the fact that they literally didn't call him Godzilla and changed a lot of the different, and changed a few characters and things like that. I do think that there's a big difference in, between these two movies, but not big enough to warrant a separate podcast.
No.
Because it's simply a redub. Now, they changed a lot, but it's simply a redub. Now, so hearing you moan like that, Tristan Walter, I have a strange feeling you don't like the redub.
No. I mean,
why do you sound?
I have to be it's terrible because I grew up watching Godzilla movies with my dad, but it was always at the point where it was always the big monster versus monster fights. And
you saw the later ones.
Yeah, so I can understand. I guess it's more of I'm understanding where people are coming from now when they're like, oh, those are really overdone and cheesy and stupid. It's yeah, but it's they were so over the top at that point that it was funny. Mm-hmm. This is kind of in a weird, awkward transitional phase. So it's between trying to ride the wave from obviously the first film and the power that it had and the impact that it had to, oh, we should have more monsters join this and have them fight and then have, the big city destroyed by Godzilla or whatever. And it just kind of fell short on both sides for me. It felt like it lacked the impact of the first film, but it wasn't really enough of a cool fight between two giant monsters to really psych me up for that. I asked
you about the dub, not the overall premise. You were like, I hate the dub, so here's something I hate about the overall premise. And I was like, wait, what? I was asking you about the dub.
You want me to be specific about the dub? I'll be specific about the
please.
dub. They used the wrong fucking roar!
That's the point, though.
No!
They did it on purpose.
Are you why? Why would they do... Why? Why would there be any reason for that?
Did you watch the fucking movie?
Yes, I did.
They literally did not reference him as Godzilla at all. He was one of Anguirus's, clan. One of his... He was a descendant of him. Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you. But that's the reason.
I'm going to state
that. No. Tristan Walter has just stated a fact. That is stupid. That is an irrevocable... That is clear. It was stupid, but it was a reason. You're sitting there they made a mistake, and I'm like, wait, what? They planned it. Now, it's stupid nonetheless.
Just being lazy.
No, what the fuck? They literally said he is from the same dinosaur family, which is not true at all. When you see the actual... What?
different enough. Like, even I give up.
I'm not saying that they're I'm not saying that they're biologically accurate by using the same.
You almost said archaeology.
Yeah, well, because dinosaurs made me think of archaeology. Dinosaurs made me think of archaeology. Listen, if you can find fucking alien crystal skulls, I think we could find a dinosaur somewhere, okay? Fuck you. So.
It's still a different science. Fuck you.
No shit. You think I don't know that? I'm not the one that put Godzilla's roar or Angelus's roar in there. But anyway.
Well, yeah. I'm just taking it out on you because you're here now.
Fair enough. Tristan Walter drinking, everyone.
Hey, no. I would be railing on it much worse than this if I had been.
Okay, because I've never heard you go this hard into a podcast before, so negatively. And we've done Star Wars.
I'm just
like episodes 1, 2, and 3, and we did like droids, and we've done Ewoks, and I've never heard you start a podcast with the Ewok.
I mean, want to say this isn't the first time I've gone into it, so like torn into it, but I mean it's possible. No, this is the first. You've been mad at other ones. I think, you know what's the other ones? You know what the problem is, everyone? Everyone listening in. First off, hi, everyone. I already said hi, but hi again. Second, Tristan usually gets very apathetic in his anger. So I think I'm just used to his general apathy. So, like, the fact that you're sitting here actually, like, frothing at the mouth, a bit like Godzilla after getting hit with a hydrogen bomb, you kind of just, you're freaking me out, man. I'm storing up my atomic breath.
Clearly. Now, here's the thing, though, right? Despite the fact that it's funny, it seems like we're at odds, but we're actually not. Where, like, I actually agree with you 100% about the fact that the film isn't, amazing and over the top great, or at least over the top crazy to, like, come off as fun and vibrant, but it also isn't as depressing as the first film. So there's this weird middle ground going on here where it's just like, all right, you're just plain. Like, you're just a plain sequel.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just a sequel, whatever. Now, the problem with the English dub that I knew here's why I'm mad at him, everyone. Because he came at me with facts that clearly I'm sitting here like, okay, so he must have read online, and he knows that it was given a different name because it wasn't trying to be a Godzilla film. And yet still, knowing that, going, well, they're just lazy and they used the wrong roar. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck, Tristan? Like, I feel like when you dislike something, everyone becomes lazy.
Yes.
Like, seriously, like, you're like, I'm not a big fan of this taco. Everyone working here must be lazy. And you're like, that's interesting, Tristan.
Okay.
It's a bad taco,
right.
But why do they become lazy?
Right, hey.
No, like, why do the staff members become lazy? No. I'm just saying, like, it could be any establishment. Like you could just be, like, watching the movie. And you're like, I don't like that they did this in the movie. Everyone working on this movie must have been lazy. And I'm like, Tristan, why did that happen? Why did they just become lazy?
Sound crew.
Fair enough. But why did all the sound crew just become lazy? Also, if everyone's wondering,
I would imagine the people like
funny.
going to clear the movie, like watching it and be like, "Is that Godzilla's roar? I don't think that's Godzilla's roar. Did they fucking put the wrong?"
1956. There was one movie.
It's like we gotta redo this. It's like, no, we don't have time. What do you mean we don't have time? No, we gotta put it out. We don't have time to fix it now. Fuck.
1956. There was only one Godzilla movie out thus far.
I know. I'm. You don't mess with my Godzilla roars, okay, Matt? All right? Okay? Okay?
I legit wouldn't have known the difference if you hadn't told me beforehand. However, when you told me beforehand, I then realized, they're the same fucking roar, goddammit. Also, by the way,
I told you beforehand then, because then I'd be railing on you too.
I know. Two things I would like to mention too. The first is, why would Matt mention tacos like that? I just had like 2 before the show, so I'm doing really well right now. That's probably another thing
You're about
too.
To have a
Godzilla. Yeah, no, there's like a really no. They weren't spicy at all. Thank God. That would have murdered me. But you would need to put the ice caps on me if they were spicy. So what was interesting, that's the first thing. So that's why I was like, Matt, why would you randomly bring up tacos? Because I've eaten them today. And that also might be a reason why I'm not railing on the movie as hard. Because, like, they're giving the wrong roars. And I'm just like, is there corn in this? And so, and so, two, the second thing that's very important, clearly so important that I fucking forgot it already. Yeah, it's, you know, it's really sad because, you know, even though I told you, like, oh, it's 1956, there's only one Godzilla movie out, that in no way means that I am defending the English dub for not doing it properly. And the reason why they didn't do it properly is because they sat back, and it's interesting because it's not like the U.S. never had a fucking sequel before 1956, right? But they sat back, and they were like, okay, Godzilla's already dead. The audience isn't going to believe that there's still Godzilla roaming around. So we're just going to change the name completely and change most of the story and never even call him Godzilla. And it's like, yeah, because no one went to the movie theaters in 1955 to see the original. Like, no, because, like, look, I know there were no VHS tapes, you know, I don't really think you had movies air on TV the way you do now, or even like in the, you know, 70s and 80s. I don't believe anyway. Like you had movies airing on TV like that much. But still, like people who saw the original Godzilla and then we're looking at this like, oh, hey, we're fans of giant monster shit happening. They go into theater and they're like, that's fucking Godzilla, King of Monsters.
Yeah.
And then fucking during the movie that I mentioned. And then for any of you eagle-eyed viewers, you fucking end up seeing the same professor from the first movie there, making a cameo appearance for about maybe like 20 minutes.
Yep.
And I'm like, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah.
So that really got me upset. Like, I'll admit, like, but here's the problem, though, right? While it got me upset that they did it, I still say they did it well. What I mean by that is I'm not saying I like that it was done, and if you tell me, Matt, would you do that? No. No. But I don't think they did it poorly. Like, in other words, I think that the yell matched Godzilla somehow. Like, in terms of, like, the actual, like, it wasn't like it was, like, it's funny. It wasn't like the yell was badly dubbed, if you know what I mean, like with mouth flaps.
Yeah.
Even the dub itself, you know, right? Wouldn't that be crazy? Just like Godzilla's moving his mouth. Just like, and then out of nowhere, just after he's done, like it's not like it was badly dubbed, right? Even the mouth flaps, I would argue. Oh, by the way, George Takei was in this movie. I don't know what character he dubbed, so let me check that over.
Oh, okay.
But it's very interesting. Yeah, no, he let me see. Yes, I'm not sure what character he dubbed, sadly, but it was very interesting the fact that he was in the film. Anyway, so just jumping back to the film itself, though, minus the actors. Yeah, or at least it's funny. I say minus the actors as I'm railing the dub. But it's funny. I don't think that because everyone, and I'm sure it gets worse later, but everyone always makes fun of English dubs of Japanese live action films. But if you're just going on this movie alone, I'm not saying it's the best work, right, that I've ever seen. But I don't think it's as poor as people say. Just based on this one alone. I'm sure people make jokes based on a collective of Godzilla movies. And again, you know, Godzilla kept on getting dubbed even in the early 2000s. So, you know, I get it, right? But the one thing I don't like, though, and like now I'm taking it away from the dub. I'm talking about it overall. I don't know, maybe because of the way sequels, like the sequels that you and I will see nowadays where it's like, oh, so-and-so died, but not really, right? When it comes to like superhero or like, not necessarily giant monster movies because there aren't that many in the U.S., but don't worry, they're coming back. But so, when it comes to superhero movies or something like that, you're like, the person died, except they didn't. And then we move on. Not like, oh no, did Dr. Doom die? He did. But thankfully his brother Von Doom, is alive. And it's like, wait, what? So the idea for me that it's like, oh no, that Godzilla's dead. oh, okay. But thankfully, new Godzilla, you motherfuckers. Like, I don't know about you, but I feel like that also kind of didn't make me as attached to the film, knowing that there's not only more than one Godzilla, and everyone's going to look at me like, motherfucker, Final Wars. I'm going to be like, listen. I'm okay with there being a Godzilla multiverse. It's just weird to me to think of, like, multiple Godzillas in one Japan.
That it's all in the same verse.
Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure Final Wars was, like, different universes coming together, right? Like, it was like a Coliseum situation.
Believe so. Yes.
Yeah, because so that's funny. You haven't seen the movie either, but you've seen enough clips to know that, Zilla from the Matthew Broderick version gets crushed.
Right, yeah. I actually saw some of it, and I was pissed because I couldn't watch the whole movie, but I saw, like, half of it from the beginning, and it's like, all I saw was, like, all the monsters are, like, they're reawakening, and they're all coming. It's like, this might be the final war, and I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah. So then maybe they did do like a Super Sentai thing and just put them all in the same universe. Because Super Sentai will do that for Super Sentai will do that only for like anniversary specials or for like random episode crossovers. Usually, other than some new Super Sentai. And by the way, I was wondering, Super Sentai, Japanese Power Rangers. Power Rangers came from Japan. Sorry, everyone. For anyone who doesn't know, at this point, 2017. Sorry. But anyway, so when it comes to I don't know if they did that, maybe just for that movie. I would assume it would be a multiverse Coliseum thing, though. But again, whatever. Maybe it wasn't. The point is that, like, for me in this film, I do think it detached me from the film a little bit to know that the Godzilla that I saw in the first movie is not this one.
I mean,
like,
yeah.
Well, no,
was,
because, like, yeah.
Well, it's funny. I feel like the professor had a point about we don't know if maybe there are multiple ones. And then I'm glad they didn't go like, oh, the oxygen destroyer didn't kill him. It's like we literally saw him turn to a skeleton and then disappear. Pretty sure he's dead.
You know what it is, though, man? I've seen enough sequels that have, in a way, like, retconned the original.
Yeah.
That I would have preferred that. Like, them legit saying, like, it had not worked like they thought.
Different one.
Or, and, like, kind of saying, like, hey, listen, guys, don't worry about that last one, right? Because I know maybe at the time, and even now, I'm sure some people are like, but that's bullshit. But I still think it still feels more cop-out. In a way, I guess both are cop-outs, but I'd rather them either rewrite or be like, but he was restored via, I don't know, like there's some kind of like radiation thing. Like I would rather there be a cop-out that, in my opinion, will logically make sense versus like, oh no, Tristan died in the movie, but thankfully his brother, Tristan... God damn it. And it's like, are you fucking serious? Like, I'm sorry, like, I'm not a big fan of and I know it's a monster, not a human, but still, like, I don't know, like, it would be weird if, like, just there's, like, a movie about, like, oh, no, it's a horror movie, and there's a bear that's trying to kill everyone in the woods, and then they kill the bear, and then the second movie, or they think they killed the bear, then the second movie, it's like, actually, the bear had a family. Like, I wouldn't give a fuck. I want to see the main villain. Like, you don't give a shit about Freddy's cousin.
Right.
Like no one, like the only time it worked, right, where I think they transitioned that I can think of in like a horror movie that they really transitioned well, and I'm sure there's others. I just really it popped in my head is like Jason's mom to Jason with Friday the 13th. Like that was a really good transition. Other than that, I can't really think of one. And again, that's mother son. It's a bit different than like Jason's mom's sister. And it's just like, okay. So yeah, that's my take on it. Like I feel weird because it's not the same one. So in a way it makes me care less. And then of course you're not going to bring back the people from the last movie, but because they didn't, now you have to deal with these new characters essentially going through, in a way, a similar plot from the first one. I.e., hey, you two, it's a war, get married. get married and make those babies.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, time the movie was made too. So.
What? No. I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm saying that both movies had similar character motivations, but not the same characters. Because I would have loved to have seen the two trying to make a baby. Well, that's weird. That's a weird context. Matt, what's going on here? Out of context. Heck, in context. No, what I'm saying
guys,
is I would have preferred
those guys.
No, I would have preferred the first two in the first movie being in love, married, and having them talk about trying to have kids. Maybe that would have been too taboo for the time, because I could understand that. Or even her with the baby. Like, she has a little baby boy or girl, and all of a sudden it's like, oh no, Japan is under attack. Will the baby be okay? Like, I prefer that. Especially talking about if you're going to juxtapose that rebirth or that birth with the rebirth of Godzilla, it would be very interesting. But instead of getting that, we ended up getting these new cast of characters, which I don't think it's funny. I don't even the dub didn't do them justice, because the dub literally took traits away from Kobayashi and essentially made him to a bumbling oaf.
Yeah.
And it sucked, too, because they're just I feel like the American dub, they were just so he's the fat guy. So the fat guy is going to be oh, come on now.
Yeah.
And it was just damn you all. So, not he was completely 100% serious, but I don't think he was, obviously when you look at both, he was a bit more in the dub. Yeah. But, Yeah. But still, so I don't know. I feel like having to deal with, these new characters, I didn't really connect with them. So I don't know if you disagree or you agree, but I just feel I didn't connect with them personally.
It's funny. I did enjoy the characters. I enjoyed the whole idea of them flying scout planes. Obviously they were looking for, they were part of a fishing company. I want to say and this takes place in Osaka instead of Tokyo, which I thought was interesting. Let's give Tokyo a break for this one. I think we're going to try and get away from that for a little while now. We'll go back to that and maybe the third or fourth one.
What I think I love so much is that I love it though. Let's give Tokyo a break. Yeah. Godzilla, hold my beer. Let's just go over to Osaka and see what happens.
Anguirus passes the beer to the next monster. Hold this for him. I'm going with him.
No.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Godzilla's Anguirus, hold my beer. Anguirus is I literally walk on all fours, you fuck.
He just sticks it on one of his back spikes, and he's you ass. He's you can't get that off you. Final war.
Oh, my God. That's actually, that's why they started the fight in the first place.
Oh, that
Where
was
did
the other
Godzilla put
thing.
his beer?
I always, in later films, it's weird. They kind of have this, I don't know, alliance in a sense. Anguirus is usually one of, the quote-unquote good monsters, or at least from what I knew. So, seeing them, I'm oh, yeah, these are, the good old days when they used to, spar. It's I'm thinking, oh, yeah, they're like Goku and Vegeta. They just beat the shit out of each other for a bit. It's no, this is my turf. I rule Tokyo. No, this is mine. Get out. And then Godzilla just, kills him and lights his body on fire. And I was oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It's a very interesting situation because this movie, I don't want to sit here and say it's the first time giant monsters happened, because that's silly.
Yeah.
I don't think I can't sit there and say that giant monsters didn't happen. I mean, though, it's very interesting because even it's funny though, because obviously King Kong happened in Japan before this movie, so technically King Kong was first, even in Japan. Funnily enough, but still, I'm still going to the idea that they didn't have the formula down yet. They didn't have the formula down yet. That's my point.
Right.
So, because I say the formula because even not. It's funny. American superhero movies, I still feel sometimes they don't have the formula down because they kill their villains, and I'm guys,
right?
Granted, they haven't really done so recently, most of the time. But like, still, whenever a superhero movie comes out and then the villain dies, and I'm like, really now? You're just gonna kill him. So in this situation, the same thing happened, where it's just like, although granted, I guess maybe in this universe they might look at the monsters in the same way that, and it's funny, both the same creator, Ultraman looks at its monsters, where they'll bring back monsters after 20 years that you haven't seen since, like, the original Ultraman, and they'll be like, whoa, that's so-and-so. But clearly it's not the same one because Ultraman ripped its fucking horns off and stabbed him with it. Dude, Ultraman used to be so fucking violent. Holy shit.
Right.
I think I've shown you some really violent ones. But it's still the idea that it's in the same monster family. Like, they even have certain islands where you'll see the same monsters. Like, there's literally a monster island. So, like, I guess I'm okay with there being more than one version of certain monsters. So, like, it's like, oh, no, Anguirus died, but it's okay. My problem, I think, is just that, like, there's more than one Godzilla. Because, like, it's funny. In my head, would it be like having more than one Ultraman, Matt? Like, first off, shut the fuck up. Right?
Yeah.
I
guess
no, because Ultraman's like a TV show. So, it's a bit different to me than, like, a movie series where you just feel like, the main character is going to be eternal. Yeah.
Right.
So it's just weird to, like, it be...
I suppose I feel okay with it in this sense because the first one's already dead. So, and I feel like they probably weren't created at the same time. Like, all I can hear in my head is the professor going, it's like, whoa, it's like, we dropped multiple hydrogen bombs, didn't we? It's like, well, we didn't think it would... How did you not think it would have the same effect on the wildlife that it falls on if it didn't immediately obliterate everything? Or, the fact that it, made a hole in the earth, like, awaken something out of the primeval earth that is below our civilized age. It's like, we've brought the monsters back that were forged in fire. It's like, of course you can't fight fire with fire. It's like, it got really, kind of like
that's the thing too, about, like,
fire and brimstone and ungodly demons that dwell within the earth's crust.
but that's very interesting, though, because... What?
Yeah, it felt like it was more like that in the dub than it was in the original film.
Yes. Well, because in the original film...
really... Yeah.
Because the thing is, in the original film, they're trying to just... they know it's a sequel. But not that they know, but they're working on it being a sequel. So they're not necessarily trying to make it have such a huge impact. In other words, I know it might sound stupid to say it like this, but, like, what I'm trying to say is that, like, they're trying to give more low-key, like, science. And I know you're going to be like, Matt, the science at the time. And I know. But, like, they're trying to give this, this scientific analysis of what's going on. And they're trying to, like, not downplay it, but just be like,
I mean, it's Hollywood
we've
science.
Seen this before. What?
Yeah. It's Hollywood science.
Well, Japan isn't. Well, yes, no, of course.
Are
you saying Japan is Hollywood?
Science.
I'm kidding. I know.
There.
It's movie science.
You know what I
movie
mean.
Science.
Yeah.
I am kidding. I know. I'm being a dick. But my point is that in the English dub, they're trying to pretend like it's a new thing. So you're supposed to be coming into this without any knowledge of Godzilla whatsoever. So you're supposed to be coming into... I mean, fuck, it wasn't even named Godzilla Raids Again, or, you could also translate it as Godzilla's Counterattack. It was translated as Gargantus, the fire monster. So, it being given that name. And hey, Toho was okay with it.
I know.
They weren't later. Afterwards, like years later when they... Well, because years later when they put it out on VHS, they renamed it, the movie, because they renamed the movie... Godzilla Raids Again. Which, by the way, love the word raid because it really makes you think of, like, a military raid. And, this obviously the movie is still very militarized. It has a lot of military presence. Anyway, but back to what I was saying. So, like, because you're supposed to be walking into the dub not knowing about Godzilla, they're just really driving it home, in my opinion, with, like, these, grand explanations and, like, trying to really hit home, like, oh, no. This thing is fucking crazy, man. Because, like, if it was just, because, like, I would argue, even if it was just a redub, like changing stuff up, but they kept Godzilla, I don't know if they would have went that hard on it. I think maybe a little bit more, but I don't think they would have went that hard. But because they're just like, yeah, no one is supposed to know what this is. It's supposed to be like a new franchise. Or like not new franchise. They wouldn't think of the word franchise at the time. They think of like a new movie. Then yeah, we're just going to say that this is, Gargantus and my fucking God, am I right? And that's it. But yeah, it was just both movies very interesting. So here's a fun thing. I don't know, how did you feel about the criminals that kind of just showed up out of nowhere?
Well, Matt, it's that criminal scum. They always got to mess everything up for us, law-abiding citizens. When
good.
When the citywide, when they say it's like, oh, we need to preserve the blackout so Godzilla doesn't come anywhere near our city. And you know what? It would have fucking worked if it wasn't for that criminal scum trying to escape.
So I'm happy you saw it too, because it clearly came off to me as Japan wants to have a reminder that criminals are scum for anyone watching.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You ruined it for all of us. You literally brought Godzilla back on us. But it's okay.
Right.
You'll get what's coming to you, because you'll die drowning in a subway.
Yeah, no, because my thing is, the reason why I thought it was just weird, it didn't really, resonate with me, is not just because I'm, 2016 living in New York, looking up, criminal stats and who gets arrested, because obviously, it's, different cultures and things like that. It's not just because of that, because it's not like I'm going to say in America we, worship criminals. Right, that's silly, right? Obviously there's still contempt for criminals like there is in Japan. Not as much, I would argue, but still it's very, very, if you're in jail, then clearly, I feel like the thought process is, oh, no, you had to have done something wrong. What do you mean a criminal justice system might be flawed? No, you had to have done something wrong. So, I still feel like that's here, too. However, I don't know, I looked at this, this part of the film, and it just felt so awkward because it just felt like, oh, you're going to, they're going to escape, but don't worry, they're going to die immediately. And the problem is that I feel like at least, and of course America at the time, probably they wanted you to feel the same way about it, like the Japanese film. They wanted you to cheer on, yes, those villains are going to die because of Godzilla. They didn't get crushed by Godzilla, technically, but still, they're going to die because of Godzilla's wrath. And you kind of sit there, and I feel like that betrays, if that really is the intent, it betrays the first movie, because you're not supposed to in any way like Godzilla.
Yeah.
Even in this movie, when it comes to him and Anguirus, right, you don't like him. In a way, maybe they saw the unintended consequence of people rooting for Godzilla because they knew him versus Anguirus. But I don't think in this. I think in this movie, both were forces to be reckoned with, and in no way was the military like how they are in later movies. Where in later movies, military is like, oh, don't worry, one will take out the other and we'll kill the winner. But here, it's like, no, they're both threats. Holy shit.
Right.
So with that framing, right, the fact that they're both monsters are threats, it's, again, maybe unintended consequence. That's why future movies kind of lean more towards Godzilla, because after a while people just like, no, I know that one, I don't know that other one. So maybe that's why people started gravitating towards Godzilla. But in this film specifically, if you're really, it being a sequel, direct sequel, literally in the same year or the year after, but I think in America got released pretty close, both movies. So having it be a direct sequel a fucking year later, you would just assume that you're supposed to really fear Godzilla and in no way ever be like, you know what? I don't like what Godzilla does, but he did that one thing that I liked. No. No. So, having the first movie, having Godzilla completely destroy Tokyo and having that devastation and wanting to weep, I'm in a way, right? Just feeling moved, oh my God, look at this. This area is now essentially war-torn because of this force that has come through. And then in this movie, it's yeah, but he should kill those 3 criminals, though. I think we should let that happen. It doesn't feel right to me,
Mm.
Oh no, he shouldn't hurt the Japanese. Everyone is Japanese unless you're a criminal. In which case, Like that felt, you know what I'm saying? Like that felt weird to me.
Yeah.
As a like if
and
like
it also
they did. Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. Just be real quick. They did something fucked up. I'm not saying they didn't do something fucked up that made people go, "Oh my goodness!" Like it's not like they were sitting around like, "Hey, isn't it crazy how the justice system has put us away without any thought regarding the fact of like there was no, it was you know they sat there and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna fucking kill the guards," like in the face, like with some guns, but in the face. But I don't know. It still felt weird to me that we're supposed to be cheering on Godzilla killing 3 people. Anyway, criminals, but still, like people. Anyway, please continue.
Godzilla is our justice. Godzilla is Kira. Oh God. But yeah, no. What I was going to say was.
Imagine Light laughing. Just. No. Yeah, he basically his head goes back.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Everyone around him looks at him like, what the fuck?
And Gyros is L.
No,
like no, you humans, you don't understand. Midway. He's a merciless murdering machine.
Rem isn't hydrogen bomb. No, they killed Agi. They killed Agidas midway through the show. Anyway, please keep going.
Oh man, but yeah, the actual point I wanted to make was, I just love the fact that they had to have the criminals go so like drastically in that police chase and on docks near explosive tankers. Just to be like, we have to have something incredibly dramatic with these people right here, right now, to get Godzilla to come back and destroy Osaka. Because it's so stupid, because at first they were like, oh, we spotted another Godzilla. Well, we have to go find it. It's like, is it anywhere near you right now? Well, no, not right now, but it's nowhere near you right now. Don't fuck with him. And maybe, just maybe, he'll leave you the fuck alone. But, obviously he ends up swimming his way towards Japan, and then it's like, well, yeah, all right, fine. It's like, now you have the reason to be like, well, we gotta try and fight him because he's heading right for us. It's like, all right, fair enough. And they had a great plan. They're like, oh yeah, he's, very sensitive to light. So if we use flares to lead him away and not murder us all, maybe we can coexist. And I'm like, I like this plan. Like, this is a smart plan. I'm okay with this. Why is everything blowing up? Why is everything exploding on the docks? Why is Godzilla looking at it? Why is it going back to Japan?
Yeah.
I just felt like...
Yeah, the reason why
I feel like it would have been easier if there were like, I don't know, some people in the military were just more trigger happy and being like, no, we have to kill this monster right here, right now, and shoot him, because that would have made more sense in a way. And then it's like, no, you screwed up the plan. It was working. Why did you try and kill him? We can't kill him. But at the same time, I guess, everyone's basically informed and remembers probably. It's like, yeah, we can't kill this thing with anything that we have, literally.
Yeah, for me, I feel like they were just sitting there like, okay, we literally don't have, like, I don't know. I felt like they were more scared than anything, but like obviously that in a way hurt them. But I don't know, when you really have nothing to kill them, you're just like, we have to throw everything we have at these things. Because okay, even though I don't like that this was released like a year after one movie was released, still though, think about it like this, right? Think about it like this. If you're going with the actual timeline, so if it really was like a year, right? Literally, they're still trying to fucking rebuild Tokyo potentially.
Yeah.
Godzilla just happened.
Tokyo. Right.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, by the way. Yeah, no, it's funny. You were like, let's give Tokyo a break. There's nothing fucking left. I hate to be the one to say that.
There's nothing to give a break.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And so they're trying to rebuild, And then it's just like, oh yeah, Godzilla's returned. It's like, oh my god, like,
Yeah.
thinking about it, because the problem is that like we've been, one of these is a good thing. I feel like in America we've been so removed from a situation like this that we don't think of it that way. Also because every movie is, that we have now, every big blockbuster is a special effects fest. We're not sitting back really thinking about. Also, superheroes exist in many of our blockbuster movies now. So we're like, superheroes just coming around fixing the city. That's fine. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, Superman could just fix the city in like a day. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right. But
no,
it's
I
like,
mean,
no. What?
I mean, personally, I've always looked at Godzilla movies and been like, how quickly did you rebuild Tokyo this time? Like, I feel like it's a new record every movie. But granted, there's no real, at least as far as I know, there's no real, like, proof of, like, a time gap in between each. So it's odd to think about in a way, but yeah.
Well, here's the thing, too. I would argue with future movies, they get more heavy with the sci-fi elements.
That's true, yeah.
Where in this film, it's clearly 1956.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Like, I know the bombs aspect of it. Of course, those are sci-fi. No shit, Matt, right? But they don't sit there with, like, I don't know, like, to me, it's a bit different where when they have, like, vehicles on the ground that have, like, laser beams attached to them and shit like that. At that point, you're like, okay.
Yeah, right.
Yes, we're in some further future here, right? Or things have progressed differently in this timeline. If it's still like 1970s, 1980s, even 1990s, it's like you have laser beams attached to your freaking cars, So it's a bit different than making up a random. Not I know like random, but like bitch saying like this is a light bomb. We're bringing up a light bomb. It's like cool. Thanks for the solar flare.
Yeah, well,
bringing
that
up light bomb.
I didn't like that interpretation either. It's like, or I don't know, maybe just the wrong choice of words. I don't know, but it's like it's not a bomb; it's a flare. There was no explosion; those were flares. But all right, whatever.
No, because flare is such a chill word.
Yeah,
like
I guess.
let's throw out the light flares. Like I do want. I mean, again. Now this I'll talk about. If we're going to talk about like things getting rushed. Yeah, I might give it to you. The idea that like the script. And this is the Japanese version. The script in Japanese doesn't match what actually happened on screen due to time constraints or budget constraints. You would assume not budget because it seems like Godzilla did well enough to get this sequel. But yeah, potential time constraints. Yeah, they might not have had or it may have been awkward to release bombs in Osaka in the air. Like they may have stepped back and gone, you know what? Like the actual visual representation of bombs. They'd be like, you know what? Doesn't look good. Like we thought about it. We thought how it would look on screen. I don't know. So they'd call it that when they'd really keep it as like the on-screen representation is more like flares / fireworks.
Yeah, but I mean, in the movie, the way that the professor was speaking about the plan, that was going to be put into motion, it did feel like that. It's like, no, we're not going to attack Godzilla. We're not bombing him. We're leading him away because we know nothing that we drop on him will kill it or have any adverse effect against him whatsoever. So that's the only reason it really like kind of caught me as weird.
Well, I think the idea is it's kind of like if we're gonna, I don't know why I can compare this to Dragon Ball Z. I think it's just a gift at this point. So it's just the idea of like Goku looking at an enemy and going, honestly, I don't know if I can beat you. I'm feeling like I can, but I don't know if I can. But what matters is getting rid of, trying to have minimal civilian casualties. So let's leave the city and let's go to the desert and let's beat the shit out of each other.
Right.
So I think it's just them like, let's get Godzilla away from Osaka.
And later on,
try to have
what they end up doing, too.
Yeah. So that's the point. Like, let's just move him. Right, yeah. Well, because you always have to have a mid-movie destruction fest.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about the other Godzilla films, but, like, clearly looking at the first one, it's like, yeah, that's a staple.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's, they definitely want to get him away from, because that's why it's like, well, you know, it's weird they use the light flares or the light bombs. It's like, well, yeah, they want to get him away. And then, even if it's like, well, we don't have really anything to actually kill him, it's like, just throw everything, including the kitchen sink. What other choice do we have at this point? We already used our hydrogen bomb, and the guy who knew that is fucking dead.
Yeah, the oxygen destroyer. It's like, hydrogen bomb is what created him. So let's not drop another one of those on him, because...
My bad.
It's like
it'll only make him stronger.
It either like only makes him stronger, or it just like the explosion goes off in the blinding light, and you just look back. There's a second Godzilla standing right next to him. They're just like, how?
You've killed him, but sadly that's you've killed him, but that has awoken me. So whoops.
Oh.
Sorry about that one. Anyway, but yeah.
Another thing, there were two things that specifically bothered me about...
Only two?
Actually, two more points that I have that really I wanted to, like, make a point about that bothered me about both movies. Yes, I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Not like getting away from the fact that they used the wrong, like, or okay, that the roars. Yeah, I already made that, but it's the way that they use them too. In the first film, there are very few points where you actually hear Godzilla roar. And usually when you do, it's his full roar. And I feel like I miss that in this film. Like, he's always like making some kind of sound. You don't get to see him kind of like slowly rising up out of the water and coming towards you. You know, just this lumbering giant mass, you know, this intimidating, you know, just thing coming at you. And not until he's basically either putting his foot down on top of you or he's standing near you, and then you hear the roar. Do you feel the terror behind him?
So you like the way that was filmed and that was set up in the first movies, the first two,
right?
Which by that you mean the Japanese, like Gojira, and Godzilla King of Monsters. You liked how that was done there.
Yes. In this one, like, they're always, whenever he's on screen, they always have a sound effect for him, and it feels like it takes away from it. And like even when he does his full roar, it's overused. I guess that's a good way to put it. And I feel like those moments where he's not making any sounds, they really had the soundtrack come in, or, you know, the orchestra come in and give more emphasis to his presence. Here, I gotta be honest, I really, you know, the soundtrack really didn't do it for me like it did in the first one.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of hurt it for me.
I can understand what you mean by that. Yeah, it definitely. Yeah. That's why, like, that's why we joke around about like it just being a sequel.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just one of them sequels, and it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just, you know, it's fun. It's not like it. I don't want to sit here and be like it pales in comparison, but like definitely the first one had something about it. You know, not the dub. Like I wasn't a big fan of the way they did that. And even in this dub, right? I'm not a big fan of the changes, but I am a fan of how, it's funny. It's just like, I hate the changes, as I said earlier, but I still think that they did the changes in a good way. Like, I don't think they were lazy with the changes. Like, they had to rewrite the script, they had to redub it, you know, like, in a way. And they also had to, you know, put the sound effects in different places, and they got new music as well. It's just really frustrating.
It almost felt like in the dub version, at least the music would be a bit more dramatic, and like when the military would show up and there was like explosions and action going on, like that did it a little for me, but like, you know, it didn't really come together.
And that's why I think this movie needed
like throughout
either
the
the same cast of characters, or this movie needed the same Godzilla. I know we probably would be still be laughing and calling bullshit on the same Godzilla, but
right.
I just feel like it's too much new, yet too much the same, like, or at least trying to be the same in a way, yet it still didn't have that same impact. Because here's the thing too, right? Because they didn't go goofy over the top, as I mentioned earlier, they tried in a way to keep the same impact, but it just kind of wasn't there.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny,
also,
like for me, I did feel, a decent amount of attachment to the characters, maybe not as much as the first set of characters, but I liked the plane pilots. I thought that was an interesting idea. It's like they were using the shipping route planes to like spot Godzilla and help out the military for their strikes. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Here's my thing, right? I like the characters separately. When you put them all together, I don't know. It's funny. I'm not going to say that I felt a large amount of of a huge connection between the first two protagonists, who were trying to, who were trying to get married and were in love. But I still don't know if I felt it here either. Like, I don't think there was enough really focus on them. Like, I feel like we moved on into like, oh yes, and now here's a random bachelor party. Even though I didn't hate it, the bachelor party, it's just like, I also, I don't feel like we focused enough on Kobayashi because, I was told, right, oh, man, they made him into an oaf in the English dub. And then I saw it, and I was like, yeah, you know what, that is there. And they even removed the subplot about him being, liking this girl and trying to look for marriage, basically, it's the concept of, looking for wives, but, in marriage interviews, if you know that practice. Yeah. If anyone doesn't know, there was a practice going on in Japan, and I guess you could say it happened in America in some form or another, but it would basically be a thing where, in Japan, they would basically say, hey, I want you to marry into, this specific family, right? Or I would like you to marry these certain women, so we're actually going to send them in to, interview you in a way, or you interview them, and you just, in a way, ask them what their likes or dislikes are. And it's like an arranged marriage, but it's still in a way, it puts the women, in my opinion, at a disadvantage because, what the fuck? The dude can choose between the three of you? That's fucking weird to me, Because I don't think they did that for women at the time. But yeah, so it would be like an interview, except that when you go, you know what, I like that one, mother. Well, that one's dating you, and they're gonna marry you. So apparently he was looking for wives in that way, and so it was mentioned that his search for a wife, it was just really removed from the dub and really just made into that one him kind of pining for a girl. But I don't know, man. The way the movie was set up, in my opinion, right, it felt as if it was still not really mentioned as much. Yes, they were they called him bridegroom, but I still don't think that's enough of a hint for me to feel yep, they removed that plot point.
Yeah.
It was barely existent to even, it was barely, I don't know, I feel like you could have just removed the criminals. I know, and maybe in their heads they're no, but we need an action scene in the middle, I don't think it really served much of a purpose. We could have just removed the criminals. Because it's not even the two, it's not even Kobayashi and I can't believe I forgot the main character's name. It's not like the two of them were talking to the police officers in the car. It was just a standard chase scene. So, I don't know. It just really didn't do much for me.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So that's just why, I'm kind of just I think that we could have focused on these characters more because I want to care about them. I really do. But I did not. Matt did not. So anyway, is there anything else you want to point out? Because I don't really know what else to talk about in this film with this film because it was an hour and 18 minutes, so that's pretty short, right? And both didn't really add anything different to each other, right? I'm sorry, they weren't that different that I'd go, what's interesting about this one is, so it's just, I think we already discussed the differences and what we did and didn't like about it. And I don't know, I just can't think of anything else that really comes off the top of my head that I'm man, this was great or this was terrible, because you mentioned how they didn't really have the fight, the fight wasn't as interesting to you. And I think, yeah, it was just because it was just like a teaser, like them testing to see how they can, like how, not how to fight, because that's silly, but like they didn't really have it down yet, where they're like, oh yeah, no, we're going to dedicate like a good like 20 minutes just to them knocking each other around.
Yeah. I mean, they had their
Yeah.
good shots of them knocking each other around, and then the rest, like,
Yes.
like into one of the old style architectural buildings. They just before the end of the fight, I think, when they smashed through that, like that was pretty cool. But most of their fight was kind of like them, like, I don't know, it because I like, you know, guys in suits for this kind of thing. Like it's them fighting, but they hadn't really gotten a choreography kind of down for it yet. It more felt like sock puppets, kind of like beating on each other in a way.
Which is good, I think, but it's better in a TV show. When it's in a movie, it's a problem.
Right.
Yeah. And the reason why I say that, not because I'm like, oh, you know, you just expect less from a TV show. No, you have more time for them to do it.
Yeah.
Where this did have a lot. Also, they clearly sped up some of the footage in places.
Yeah, that too.
In my opinion, yeah. So it didn't look as good, in my opinion. I'm sure, you know, later movies will get a bit better with it, and of course we're going to be doing later Godzilla films, so that'll be very interesting. But yeah, I definitely think that there was a lot to be desired, which is sad because, you know, after the first movie, especially looking at the dub versus the sub for the first film, I was really like, oh man, this is, you know, like this is such a difference. Godzilla is such a classic. I can see why it still holds up. And I see this, and I'm like, I'm not saying like, oh God, it's funny. The franchise is dead. Matt, do you not know?
Yeah.
But
yeah, like,
are you not aware, Matt?
I don't want to rail on it too hard because I am still glad that, you know, Godzilla got to keep going, but yeah, at the same time, it's like it's not all that I wanted it to be, or that it could have been in a sense, you know. But you know,
most definitely.
The only other thing I wanted to mention was at the end, like, they totally set themselves up. They're like, so we're not going to kill Godzilla off this time. We're going to freeze him in a block of ice for later.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think that was smart on behalf of the filmmakers.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, on the filmmakers. But even, I mean, I guess even for the movie itself, it's like, so we can't kill him. What if we buried him? You think he'll stay buried this time? Yeah, if you don't drop another frickin' H-bomb on him, maybe he will. Oh.
Right?
All right, fair enough. You know?
No, I agree. No, it's true. I agree with you 100%. And, yeah, it's you know, this is a very interesting concept, though, I think, just having this sequel come out at the time. Because, again, not like, I don't want to sit here and say, like, Japan and the U.S. weren't privy to sequels. Like, oh, they never happened up until this moment. But I just think it was very interesting to have the sequel come out and to really start this franchise because, you know, I do think, maybe I'm wrong here, that the idea of this becoming a franchise like this, you know, and this is only the second movie, so it'll take a bit for me to consider it like a true franchise until we hit, like, movie 5, 6. But still, it's just crazy to have it come out because, like, obviously it's a franchise at this point in real life, but, like, while we're doing the films, it's not a franchise yet, of course. But still, it's just crazy to have it come out because, you know, I mentioned it, I think, in the last podcast that we did for the first movie. But still, it's just crazy because while you still, you know, back in the day, yes, you got a lot of, like, silent films for, like, Robin Hood and for Wizard of Oz, and they would have Wizard of Oz sequels, right? You know, sequels for the other movies, or they would have, like, you know, other, like, properties that became Disney properties when they were animated. But it's just crazy to me, or MGM properties. But still, I do think it's crazy to have, you know, a franchise like this start in the 50s and then just keep going. And not even like, oh, it still exists today. Because, like, a lot of things, I hate to be this kind of like a downer, but, like, yeah, well, Twilight Zone still exists today. Doctor Who still exists. Like, it's not crazy anymore to think about something lasting for 50 years or so, right? It should be crazy, but it's not anymore. But just the idea that it existed at a time where, you know, there were no VHS tapes. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you didn't see it in the movie theater, you'd be fucked.
Right. Yeah.
Hell, the fact that I think it was until 2004, 2006, I believe, it took for people to finally be able to legally see this movie, Godzilla Raids Again, in Japanese with English subtitles. Like, it took Toho releasing it on DVD in America to finally, for people to finally legally be able to see it. That's crazy to me.
Right.
You know, like, it's crazy to think, like, you know, I don't know. Like, I'm just, because, like, to think that, like, your dad and my dad were, like, fans of Godzilla when it first came out. At least I think he was a fan of Godzilla at the time. Because he was really into, my dad was really into, like, tokusatsu, like, American stuff. He was into, like, Johnny Sacco and his giant robot and Lost in Space and all that stuff. And Star Trek, of course. So it's very interesting to think that, you know, that this was around at a time when it was like, if you didn't see it in the movie theater, maybe you could find it on TV? Probably not.
Yeah.
Wait 20 years, right? And then it'll be on television.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, but so is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
I mean, for the very end, like Kobayashi getting shot down by Godzilla, but kind of leading them to where he was on the island. Yeah, that was like, it made me sad, but it was nice to be like, yeah, he got to be kind of the hero at the end. It's like, yeah, you know, he found him. You know, it's like, quick, let's go and get him. It's like, you know, his friends, Sukiyaki, I believe. I might be wrong. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the main character's name, but yeah. And he comes in, you know, he's like, no, we've already, you know, he's already gone down. He's like, please let me go with you. You know, it's like, I have a score to settle with, you know, that giant lizard. And it's like,
Tsukioka.
I mean, I guess it's Tsukioka. There we go. And I know, I guess it's kind of like cliche, but it's like, oh, you know, I want revenge against the giant monster that killed my friend. But it was like, it was weird in a way. It was kind of just a little nod and reminder to, it's like, yeah, Godzilla's still kind of like a bad thing. Like, I know, and like you said, it's like later on, it's like, we kind of cheer for him, but like he still kills people. Granted, we kind of pissed him off in the first place, but you know.
I looked at it more like a wartime thing. Like, it happened in the, you know, it happened in the war. Therefore, he will be remembered and he will be loved for fighting for Japan. Like, I don't know why. Right. I feel like such a dick because, like, I don't want to sit here and say that America doesn't do propaganda, especially in its movies at the time. But it definitely feels like this was. And it's funny because you would think, Matt, are you saying the first one didn't feel like propaganda in some ways? It's like, no, because for me, it's just like, it's a kind of situation where, like, in the first one, because I feel like it's like, all right, in my opinion, we fucked up by dropping the bombs. So when you see the devastation in Godzilla trying to reflect, you know, the bombs being dropped and then making a direct reference to it, for me, it's kind of like, oh, shit. Like, and that's just my personal feeling. Like,
to end all wars. But like, we don't want this to happen to anyone else. Yeah. Yeah. Sentiment.
And so, and that was World War II. Because there has not been a World War III yet, cross your fingers, because there hasn't been a World War III yet, it's kind of like, and here's the sequel, and it's like, wait, what? So, like, it feels like I can sit in one movie and be like sad about, you know, like, yes, you know, this is terrible and this mirrors this and that's terrible. But then when there's a sequel to it, it's like, wait, what? And then in the sequel, it's just kind of like, it feels, because there isn't talk as much about, like, the devastation of war, in my opinion. Like, literally the worst thing that were like, yes, they showed the background, like, you know, things burning, and that was sad. But then, like, you have the one guy, like, not the one guy, her dad, basically, you know, running the whole company. Like, that's where my factory was.
Right.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I know it's your livelihood, and this is the 50. Like, I get it. I shouldn't be a dick about it. But, like, after the first movie where it's like, Tokyo itself has been destroyed. Look at everything. Oh, my goodness, children in hospitals. This is terrible. And in this movie, my factory.
Yeah.
The world's smallest violin. You know? But, like, so, like, I don't know. And I am a dick for saying that because, like, if our headquarters, like, if our company, if our HQ, right, where it's funny. You're looking at me, Matt, we have a headquarters? Yes, my home. If my home was destroyed, you bet your ass I'd be like, no! But, like, it's just a situation, I don't know, compared to the destruction of the entire city, in the first movie. In this one, it felt like it was downplayed a little bit, and then the wartime stuff was pushed even heavier, where it's just like, help those troops.
Right.
You know, and then it's just like, don't worry, though, he died for his country. Which is funny, because it's like, I'm saying this is Japanese propaganda while I'm doing the New York 1920s voice for World War I.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, what were you going to say, though?
Nope, lost it.
Okay, I'm sorry to say that. I'm sorry to hear that. Anything else you'd like to say before we? No, you were basically saying how well, you were saying, right? You were talking about how Tsukioka, like, you know, like, it sucks that Kobayashi died, but you know, they made him look like a glorious hero, and then Tsukioka could come in and then be the hero that lives with the wife.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it. I don't know. It worked for the movie, but yeah.
So, any other things before we before I shut this down?
No, I think that's it.
All right, so I want to thank you all for listening in. As always, it was a lot of fun. Really happy that you guys are here. And I, you know, despite the fact that it seems like we were railing on this movie, I do think that you should watch it. Like, I do think that it has its place in history, and I don't want to tell people to like skip it and to sit there and be like, no, never watch this movie. I do think though that if you're trying to just watch a movie, just like watch the original Godzilla, and then you're not really into, like, you know, you don't care about the sequels. You're like, look, I just want to see the original Godzillas. What if I had to watch sequels? I don't know if I'd suggest it to you. Like, I would suggest watching this, then comparing it to 1990s U.S. Godzilla, and then comparing it to 2014 Godzilla. And Shin Godzilla, which is the new one that came out in Japan. Like, I would tell you to compare each and every one, but I don't know, and I don't know much about Shin Godzilla, to be fair, nor about the 2014 version. I'm just saying that, like, I think on their own you could do that, right? Versus, like, saying, like, no, you totally have to watch Godzilla Raids Again. Like, I don't think it's required if you're just sitting there going, listen, do I watch Godzilla? Yeah, I want to watch Godzilla, I want to watch King Kong, and then I want to watch Godzilla versus King Kong. Do I have to see Godzilla Raids Again? I don't think you do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're just trying to, like, because in my opinion, I'm sure that there's some Godzilla movies that some would say, no, but you have to see this because one day, you know, it'll tie into this. And while I don't know much about future Godzilla films, I don't feel like there's anything in this film that's really going to hit you in years to come. You know what I mean? Like, no, but you have to understand, man, Godzilla Raids Again. Like, no. That's my take on it. Maybe they'll have a reference to a character later on. Obviously, the monsters will appear later. I hear that Godzilla one is in, like, every one. But I don't think that there's a big demand to see this movie unless you're saying, no, I want to be a Godzilla completionist. Should I see it, Matt, or is it terrible? And I'll go, no, you should see it. The Japanese with subs, but you should still see it. Yeah. So, anyway. Thank you all. Hope you have a good night. I just want to mention that we have our Let's Play channel, Those Guys Play. We're actually bringing back Those Guys Play Season 3 next month. It's been on a month hiatus, so thankfully that's coming back. You can find our Let's Play channel over at Those Guys Play. Search that up on YouTube. And we also have Matt Beats Games from His Childhood there, where I'm Matt beating games from my childhood. So certain games that I've beaten, actually, I've beaten Mega Man X, Porky Pig's Haunted Holiday, Misao, I've beaten on Matt Beats Games. And for Matt Beats Games from Childhood, I've also beaten, Mega Man X, Porky Pig's Haunted Holiday, Matt's blanking out, Disney's Aladdin, and that's all for now, but more games are on the way because I'm constantly playing games every single week on our channel. Also, Tristan and I have actually, you and I have played Dragon Ball Z Budokai. We have not played a Godzilla game yet, which Tristan really wants to rectify. But we've played Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Yeah, well, you do. We played Dragon Ball Z Budokai on the show, which we've transitioned into its own separate series called Those Guys Play Dragon Ball Z. By the time this is out, we will have started the series Those Guys Play Kingdom Hearts. So we're going to be releasing Kingdom Hearts games because, you know, new one's coming out. I think it came out in Japan. I think it's coming out in America. I don't think it's come out yet. I know it's coming out in America, but I don't think the new one's come out in America yet. Kingdom Hearts 2.8, right? Has it come out?
Yeah, not yet, I don't think. No.
Okay, but anyway, but still, because of those coming up and because of Kingdom Hearts 3 coming up, we definitely are going, we are playing Kingdom Hearts. So we have a lot of stuff on that channel. You can get merchandise from our YouTube channel, Those Guys Play, or from our Those Guys in the Radio podcast that you're assuming you're listening to it right now, obviously. You can find that merchandise over at our main website, tgproduction.net/merchandise, or thoseguysintheradio.tumblr.com/merchandise, or on our eBay channel, which is Those Guys Radio. Now, our podcast, right, you're listening to one right now, assuming you're listening to it through our Blog Talk Radio, which is Those Guys on the Radio, you could be listening to it through iTunes, which you probably search up Those Guys and found us there, or you could be listening to it in our YouTube archives by going to Those Guys on the Radio. So you may be listening to it through a bunch of different means. The point is thank you for listening to it, first off. And second, if you want to hear more about our future podcasts and future Let's Plays, go over to our social media accounts. I mentioned our website earlier. You can go to our Facebook, which is /Those Guys on the Radio, our Twitter, which is @Those Guys Radio, and our Instagram, which is /Those Guys on the Radio. Yes, so also we have a Patreon as well, which is TG Productions. You can go there, donate to us to help us get a multitude of things, not just to help us live and to help us function as people, but also to help us with our Blog Talk Radio account and also to help us getting capture cards to bring even more Let's Plays to you and things like that. And also, right, depending on what you donate, how much you donate, rather, to our Patreon, you could actually get certain perks. So depending on what you donate, you can actually suggest a podcast to us. It doesn't have to be just about, let's say, a specific movie. So you don't have to say, oh, do this Godzilla movie. It doesn't have to be that. It could actually be something like, hey, top 5 Godzilla movies, right, or top 5 giant monster films, or something like that. So it can be a concept, not just a specific movie, TV show, or video game. When it comes to our Let's Plays, you can basically say for any host whatsoever, to play a specific game, any game you want for one episode, and it could be a lot of fun, right? You can mix and match hosts. It can be anyone you want that's been on the show before, and it could be a lot of fun. Right, so definitely check that out. And also, depending on what tier you donate to, we can actually give you guys a shout-out on the show and say, hey, we're being sponsored by so-and-so, right, for every podcast in the month or for every Let's Play in the month, depending on what's going on there. So, yeah, so, again, thank you all. Ending it here. Love you guys. Take care. Hope you like this podcast, and hope you like the movie if you saw it beforehand. So, or you didn't. Either way, that's that. Either way, you've seen the film. The time is gone, right? Just those 3 hours, Tristan, because we watched both. Anyway, so good night, everyone. Say good night, Tristan.
Good night, everybody.